All right, Sunday night, Cousin Sal is here, and we decided to wait to start taping until after a baseball game. Sal, baseball's back.
It was too intense. We have, Justin Turner was an ex-Met, and Mookie Betts was ex-Red Sox. I guess that was enough reason to tune in. But no, it felt like real playoff baseball. You're right. Couldn't turn it off.
It was really good. The games were great all week. And then especially this weekend. And the two yesterday were great. I couldn't believe how much baseball I watched this weekend. I definitely was expecting it. I sat out this season, basically. So I was picking up stuff as I went along. But, I mean, I don't know whether we start with the Dodgers or the Braves, because yet another devastating Atlanta sports collapse. I actually power walked with Rember Brown a couple days ago around LA for 3 hours. And we were talking about the Braves. And
what?
He was feeling good. Yeah. And he was like, I just know the other shoe's going to drop. It's the Atlanta fans are in a dark place. And then on the flip side, the Dodger fans, since 1988, and especially the last 12 years, they're in a dark place too. So it was almost like the baggage series, and the Dodgers just had less baggage, I guess.
We talk about that a lot, right? Is it better to be like a Browns fan or a Detroit fan where you just never win, or a Dodger fan where you just barely miss getting over the hump because the team cheated or whatever else happened? But it's going to be a good series. It's going to be, I worry for Kershaw. I've gone through this a million times. I don't think there's an athlete like him in any sport where the postseason numbers don't match up to the regular season. Pick a basketball player. Could you even pick one that's close? Like, his ERA is double what it is normally.
I mean, there's a smidge of James Harden, but it's not even close. Like,
he doesn't go 2 for 20. You know what I mean?
No.
He doesn't go like 4 for 24 or something. I see what you're saying, but I don't think anyone's close.
When he got knocked out of game 4, and then the floodgates opened when the reliever came in and they cut to him on the bench, and it was just like basically this Kershaw mannequin from the last 9 years of just that kind of shell-shocked, bummed out look. I felt so bad for him. I mean, look, I don't have a dog in this race. I'll end up betting on it, but between Mookie and the Dodger fans I have in my life who I really like, and then the Kershaw piece, it's hard not to root for them. I know they spend $1 million kajillion. It's not like they're a Cinderella story or anything, but
and specifically with Kershaw, like I feel as bad as I can for someone who makes $31 million a year. Although that's a pittance, according to if you follow Dak Prescott's career. So I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore. $31 million. I think it's a lot.
Well, it was funny watching even today, Dave Roberts, who has a checkered history in these postseason games. And this one, he was kind of pulling the right strings. And even we were texting before the ninth about would they leave Urias in or not? Or would they bring Kenley Jansen in? And I was like, leave him in, 6 straight outs. But I think Roberts in the old days probably brings Jensen in. Like, this is our guy. Got to do it.
Panicked. Yeah. I guess Jensen had a lot of work. He was great, especially the latter part of this week. But I guess he had too much work to just go right to him in the ninth, but he was definitely warming up. It's going to be great. You watch the Rays more closely than I do because they're in your division. I know you got fantasy guys on that team, but they have not a lot of holes in that lineup. But they're good for
they're good.
3 extra foul balls per at bat too, right? They're tough outs all through 1 through 9.
And they have like 20 guys who throw 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers still have the Kenley thing looming over them, which I know he looked good this week, but they're still, I think the biggest winner was baseball because they were so close to that Rays Braves World Series that I don't know what would happen. It's shades of almost like the 1995 Stanley Cup, that Devil's Trap year.
Yeah, right.
Where it was like this before after for where hockey was as a popular sport. I think they really needed Dodgers in there. And Mookie is somebody that should be a bigger star. I mean, I obviously I'm biased and spent a lot of the last few years watching him, but the guy's just so electric. He's so magnetic. And he's so great.
Tonight.
Every game he was doing one thing, right? And even like when he had that hit, it ended up not turning out to anything, but it was like, I knew he was going to get a double. That hit in the gap where most people pull up, and he's of course he is. He's like the best base runner, the best outfielder. Yeah. He has the best at bats.
Speaking of, the Braves might be the worst base runners, and that's maybe why they're going to be watching the World Series. But it was exciting. There was everything. There was like plays at the plate. There was a lot. It just had a little of everything. Once the Dodgers got to 6 games, they did MLB a favor. Obviously, they did MLB a favor by going forward. But once there was like 2 games Friday, like, oh, this is gonna get good. And it was. I
wagered. I had a Tampa Bay.
You did
Dodgers parlay. It was like 225, whatever that percentage was. It was higher than 2-1.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel good about the Dodger game until the pickle play.
Right.
And then when Mookie robbed that dude for a home run, I was like, all right, if you have a team dramatically fuck up a pickle play and and somehow get 2 outs, and then Mookie steals a homer, now I'm operating with an extra 3 runs. And it just felt like it was better. But then Bellinger hits the go-ahead homer and separates his shoulder. It seemed like
no doubt
the celebration, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the director might have separated his shoulder. Didn't even go to the ball. It's like, we're going to watch Bellinger round the bases. I know it's probably out, but can we see where the ball lands? I don't know.
Right.
It was good.
I was texting with CC and Ryan Rucco, who host the R2C2 for us. CC's hilarious during these games, but I was asking him, did they get rid of the code in the bubble? Because every time,
which CC Sabathia?
CC Sabathia.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
World champ.
You say CC like everyone. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, of course, of course, CC Sabathia. All right.
I was asking him, did they dump the code for the bubble? Because anytime somebody hits a homer now, they're reacting like Manny Ramirez in 2003.
Right.
Like it's 7 seconds before they even start running. They're looking at the dugout. They're pointing, and then every time there's a big strikeout in either series, the pitcher's like doing the wild thing, Charlie Sheen, triple fist pump, scream. And I really like it. I don't know why this can't be baseball. But CC was saying that this is what Dominican winter baseball is like, where it's just like everything is high intensity, celebration.
Oh, really?
Just make this baseball. This would really help if this just was baseball.
You know what I missed, and we forgot all about it? I think the pandemic saved the Astros as the villain. It came up a little as they got momentum in these series here. The Astros, I remember we were like, oh, they're going to get plunked like 4 times a game. They got hit 23 times in the regular season. The Mets got hit 45 times. The Cubs had 52 hit by pitches. Like the Astros weren't even close. I guess they had 7 in the postseason, but it's unbelievable that they were less than half of the top hit by pitch leader. What happened?
Do you think that was because of the Joe Kelly thing, that maybe teams were afraid that guys would get suspended?
Yeah, I guess. But no one, poor Cubs and Mets, what the hell they ever do? I'm glad the Mets are getting hit by pitches, but they didn't have to abide by the Joe Kelly rule, I guess.
It didn't take me long to work up a lot of hatred toward the Astros. Yesterday, I did a Dodgers-Astros parlay with the sole purpose of like, either I put my stink on the Astros, or if they win, at least I win money. But it was like, it's such an easy team to root for. So many garbage can jokes you can make during the games.
Yeah.
But Tampa's really good. I mean, it's just like one guy after another, good athletes and a lot of power arms.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be
impressive
good.
Teams.
They start Tuesday, right? Tuesday.
What
Wednesday.
Do you got for a World Series line for us?
Well, I'm looking. I was just looking there. I'll jump in if one comes up. It could just happen. So.
We'll have one over within the next probably hour, right?
For sure.
We'll get it. Speaking of Tampa.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I just love Mookie Betts. It really hurts. It hurts, but I'm also happy for him. I feel like, it's like we were married, but we had to break up for reasons that wasn't anyone's fault. And now it's just like, I just want him to be happy. It's a little different than how I feel about Tom Brady. The Mookie thing, he deserves it. He's the most important guy in that team. My team was stupid enough to lowball him initially and never really treat him with the proper respect. And he's just such a great baseball player. All the Dodger fans in my life just continue to go bonkers about him.
It's so funny. Who do we do this with? So Mookie's okay. You love Mookie. You love Rondo, but you were not rooting for Tampa to connect with Gronk today. That's for sure.
No, I'll tell you this. I can't root against Gronk.
Can't root against Gronk. Okay.
No, I love Gronk.
Ball's in his area. You want him to catch it.
Yeah. Tom, I'm betting on Tampa, so I'm not as spiteful.
I see. All right.
I still feel like he kind of just kind of wanted to get out last year for reasons I don't fully understand.
Well, but I don't know how you want to start. Maybe we'll start with your team or not, but
no, let's start with the Tampa because working theory, Tampa has become the new Boston.
How do you mean?
So Brady shows up September 2001, his first start for the Pats. We proceed to rip off 2 incredible decades. We make 12 titles. We win 12 titles. We make 17 finals. Every team we have has some sort of iconic version of the team, at least locally, all the way through till he leaves. He shows up at Tampa this spring. They win the Stanley Cup. The Rays make the World Series, and they look like the NFC favorites. Like, this is fucking weird.
Right. It is.
You don't think this is weird?
And also, you mentioned 2001. Not to go back to the Patriots, this is the first time in October they don't have a winning record since 2001, right? Or 2002. It's right in there. There's a lot of weirdness. If you juggle the numerology, you'll just go crazy. But I didn't know what to make of that. I know you had Tampa. I had Green Bay, so I'm going to make excuses. But I don't want to say the game was fixed. But what the hell happened? Like, Rodgers looked terrible. And it wasn't even one of those games where he was really pressured all game. He started to get pressured at the end. But, with no Vita Vea and we know Dominican Sue's on this team and they have some players defensively. But my God, I felt like they gave him that game. Like, it's almost like people talk and say, there's no good teams in the NFC. And they're like, all right, we'll fix that. This isn't your game, Aaron. Throw a pick six and throw another one that comes close to a pick six. I don't know. I'm a baby when it comes to this, but I don't understand how they got railroaded today.
I talked myself into Tampa after hearing Warren Sharp's theory about how every week the Packers managed to go against a team that didn't have their biggest weapon.
Right.
For the first 4 weeks. Because they had Atlanta, Julio's out. New Orleans, Michael Thomas is out. Detroit, Galladay was out.
I heard that too, but Devontae Adams has been out all these games too. So
no, that's the counter. But at least, like, what we didn't know is whether their defense was any good. And they hadn't really been tested yet, especially the quarterbacks they played. Like, it wasn't like a murderer's row.
All right, you talk about defense. What was Brady threw for 166, right? Am I wrong?
But they didn't really
Rodgers
have the ball.
Threw for 130, for 160. I know, but for this quarterback matchup, they combined for like 320 yards. It was sort of disappointing. They didn't have the ball.
Key guy was Ronald Jones.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Where does he come from?
We do this every year. Sometimes teams have bad weeks. This game meant more to Tampa. They're 10 days rest. They're coming off a loss. Green Bay's feeling great about themselves. They haven't lost yet. It wasn't a must-win for them.
That's true.
So it was a classic, like, incentive game. It was like that Niners game, which people sniffed out.
Yeah,
right? People were like, that line is 6 points off. All of us kind of stared at it, and then it went from 3.5. Where did it end game time?
It was right around 2.5. So yeah, you had to buy it up to 3. The thing I'll say about Tampa, no penalties. We saw them over 100 yards of penalties last week. We know last year they led the league in penalties and 0. So you got 0 penalties or 20, 25 yards in penalties, they'll be in every single game.
I have liked Tampa's defense this whole year. I like what I've seen. I think at least they've been super frisky every week and they've had some dominant stretches in games. I don't think they've put it together entirely. I was with you. I thought when they lost the nose tackle, that would be a bigger factor than it was. But they just, if you're not pressuring Brady, which the Packers didn't, he looked really good today. I got to say it. I've been pretty hard on him the first 4 weeks, but he had time to throw. He was putting the ball all over the place. The only guy who was probably bummed out was Mike Evans.
I was going to say, what did he end up at 30 yards or fewer? I don't know what it was.
And he's kind of like a decoy at this point. But
well, they'll take a win like that every time.
But if you were looking at the NFC right now, I it's going to keep changing depending on who gets injured, who's the COVID case of the week, all that stuff. But Tampa probably brings the most to the table out of all the NFC teams, I think.
So there's 3, right? It's Tampa, New Orleans, and Green Bay, and not the version of Green Bay we saw today, right? So it's not. I mean,
I think Seattle.
I'm sorry.
Seattle out of respect to Russ.
Yeah, I don't know why. By the way, you have Russ on. Did you play him any of the old voicemails you used to leave me? The drunk, the hustle and bustle. No, that didn't come up at all.
It was great. He said we should go. He said we should go to dinner at some point. It was wonderful. It was everything I wanted for my first date with Russ.
That's great. That is terrific. No, I enjoyed it. I was just wondering if a drunk email is going to pop up at any point. Or drunk voicemail.
Let's take a break and then we'll come back and we'll talk about who the best NFC team is. All right, best NFC team. So Seattle's 5-0, Bears 5-1, Packers 4-1, and then the Bucs and the Rams are 4-2. The Bears, I will say this: House did like the Bears this week because I like the Panthers, and House was like, the Bears defense is good.
I like them too,
and it was kind of planted in the back of my head. And watching that game, like they really made things hard for Carolina. That was a legitimate win. Carolina did some dumb shit. Yeah. They were inside the 10 twice. They ended up getting 2 field goals. Sly missed a long field goal. Cairo Santos, didn't you have him once?
I have once, like 3 times, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the Cowboy. Oh, yeah.
On the Cowboys.
I thought you meant my fantasy team. Yeah.
He made a 55-yarder, so that was a 6-point swing there. And, there's versions of that game where I think Carolina does better, but
listen,
the Bears D was good.
Just forget it. Don't even look at their record. Everyone wants to look at their record and be like, they're not good. I'm betting against them. This is the week. What was it? There was like a 2-2. I can have Carolina -2. They can win by a field goal, and I'm going to make money. Where do I sign up? But you and I talk about it, and then everybody seemed to be on board with Teddy Two Gloves. Oh, my God. He's a savior. Throw him in the MVP discussion. They don't need McCaffrey. They got Mike Davis. I was like, let's calm down. The Bears are weird. The Bears perform like voodoo on you. Tom Brady forgot how to count to 4 when he's playing this team. You can't even look at a box score and figure out why Chicago won. Like Foles had 198 with a touchdown and interception. I don't know. Montgomery had 58 yards rushing. The top receiver, I think, was Robinson with 53 yards. Nothing adds up. And then at the end of the game, they're either winning or losing by 3. And it is, I guess, because of that defense, right? We talk about Mack and Hicks and all these guys are all over the place every game.
It's a really unimpressive list of playmakers in that team.
Yeah.
Like, I said this Thursday. That was the team Le'Veon Bell should have gone to. I actually think if he has anything left in the tank, he really could have helped them. Montgomery's fine.
Yeah. They had odds on this. The Bears were the favorite, pretty substantial favorite, like 3-1 odds. And then the next team was like 5-6, and the Chiefs were right in that 650 range. But yeah, the Bears made most sense. I don't know why some teams shy away from it and some don't.
The rookie receiver they have is okay. He can make a catch or two, but it always seems like Robinson is the only real guy who can actually like that 3rd and 11, 3rd and 13 type thing. The rookie tight end they had made a couple of plays today. Cole Kmet.
These Notre Dame guys are unbelievable. Between Claypool and Cole Kmet, they're just monster, corn-fed, great blockers and great receivers. And you're going to tell me how the Patriots should have had them 3 rounds earlier.
I'm just going to tell you that there was some text today about with my dad and with Hench about because we passed that guy in the draft and we needed a tight end and we're like, why are we passing on that guy? And then they're like, no, we got some later, and we picked 2 guys who don't play. Like they literally, I haven't seen them make one catch.
Right.
So yeah, that's a bummer.
It's rough for you guys. Well, we'll discuss it when you want to talk. I feel bad. My team's in first place, regardless of what happens tomorrow night. And yours is might be the 3rd best in the AFC East. So
let's keep talking about the NFC? I'm not ready to talk about my team yet.
I don't know who the best team is. I know everybody's saying, there's 5 better. There's almost maybe 5 better AFC East teams than the best NFC East team. I don't know if I'm ready to say that. I don't know if the Chiefs are better than the Packers.
I don't agree with that.
I know they beat the Ravens, but the Packers, this was not the Packers that we're going to see the rest of the year.
It's Brady's in a good spot.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just talking about, was it a good football decision to leave New England and go to Tampa? The answer was yes.
For sure.
Regardless of the Belichick is a better coach than Bruce Arians, so that certainly didn't seem like it today. But the Pats, the last couple drafts have just been bad.
Right.
And Hench and I were texting about like, I would say the last 2 drafts, how many impact receivers have been in the last 2 drafts? Feels like at least 12, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like all the dudes this year, that guy Jefferson on Minnesota is unbelievable.
Really
Judy
good guy.
and Henry
really good guy to
Ruggs.
keep on your bench with 43.7 points.
Oh my God.
Good, yeah.
Does that happen to you?
It did happen to me, yes.
we had Metcalf and Debo and McLaurin. You could go on and on. There was at least 12, 13 guys. And then there's been a bunch of good tight ends too that were in the last 2 drafts.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pats just didn't get any of them.
Right.
It's just rough because you watch the game today and Cam wasn't right. And you're thinking like, all right, who are playmakers? He's throwing to Ryan Izzo.
Mm-hmm.
He's throwing to all these random wide receivers. Jules looks like he's on his last legs. And then they have 5 mediocre running backs that they're just platooning. And the only time it was exciting at all was when Cam was scrambling.
Yeah, for sure. The under Edelman 1.5 pass attempts should hit every game, right? He shouldn't throw the ball twice. When you have to go to the gimmick twice to stretch the field because no one's getting open downfield, I felt bad. I actually did feel bad. I was like, oh my God, they have to do this. They have to try these gimmick plays to stay in this game. And it didn't work. It almost did. It just came up short. But Broncos, give them a little credit. That's a frisky defense. It's a very weird
this is big for you, that Broncos thing.
I know, right. Of course, as soon as I have the Patriots on every money line parlay, the Broncos bite me in the ass. But with Chubb, Justin Simmons, all these guys, Kareem Jackson, they play hard every snap. And then, you were good because you held them to 6 field goals? Is that what it was? Did they score a touchdown?
Yeah, but I thought they dominated the game.
Yeah.
And the thing that worried me, and I was talking to my Pats friends about this, it wasn't like a fluky game. Like they were actually just better in they were better offensively, they're better defensively, they had better pass rush, they were better, their secondary covered better.
Right.
Special teams was better. We got out coached. Belichick had a couple massive brain farts in that game too. Like there was one play, he declined the penalty that would knocked and it's like, they have McManus. He's good from 58.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Right.
And McManus got that field goal. It went to 18-3, which was significant.
And then you're out of it. I just don't think you'll ever lose to a quarterback again who was 10 for 24. That's what he was, Locke. And he had 2 interceptions, right?
It's an embarrassing loss. They have no Melvin Gordon, who had a really, a newsworthy week. He had a DUI, then he had a strep throat.
Mm-hmm.
Fant doesn't play.
Mm-hmm.
And it just that's a team the Patriots defense should have chewed up, and the Broncos were able to move the ball when they needed to.
Yeah, Lindsey broke out over 100 yards.
I'm worried that the Pats might not be that good, but I'm not going to go there yet because I will say this. I think we're learning that having COVID and then just coming back and playing whatever the sport is a bad idea. Because it's not just that you're not playing for those 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, but you're not working out or doing anything. So you're basically you're like the guy who gets the new treadmill on December 25th.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day is on the treadmill like, oh my God, I just want to kill myself. Cam was bad. Cam was bad today.
Mm-hmm.
He was, he had 10 throws that had no chance where he was 2 yards off, up, 2 yards up, grounders. He was awful.
Short-armed everything. I would agree with you if not for the effing Tennessee Titans. How are they doing it? Their facility was closed 12 out of 14 days. Theoretically, they're not practicing, and they come out.
But it wasn't any of their key guys, though. It wasn't like Derrick Henry had COVID, right? It's their best guys didn't have it.
But what about practice, though? Does it matter or not? Does it just? I don't get it.
Do we think Tennessee wasn't practicing?
I think they were practicing. I want to blow the whistle on these teams. They should have 2 forfeits. Instead, they looked like the best in the league and got so lucky. And we had the Texans. I know I had the Texans +4. And to lose that game in overtime by 6, you got to be kidding me. I don't know if you're ready to move on from the Patriots, but.
Oh, I'm ready to move on from the Patriots. Yeah, I had 4 gambling rules that I'm just going to add. I don't know if this is permanent, but just for 2020. Don't bet on a QB who just had COVID. That's one. Just mark that one down for future reference. When in doubt, bet against the Jets and bet against an injured Baker Mayfield. Those are 2 good things. Maybe even parlay them together.
Right.
And then never, ever think Romeo Crennel can win 2 straight games.
Good Lord. What? All right. So I know we argued about this last week when Minnesota went for it on 4th and a half a yard. You thought they should kick the field goal to go up 8. I think a half a yard is much different than 2.5 yards, especially when Minnesota was running against them. I knew the Texans weren't going to. So I get the analytics, and I argue with Todd Furman all the time about this. I get this, except for it never seems to work out. In theory, I guess in a vacuum, this this go for the kill and go up by 9 is the better way to go. But it doesn't pass the eye test when Cornell's holding up 2, right? You're like, uh-oh, that's the wrong thing. I haven't even done the math yet, but I know that's the wrong thing, whatever he's doing. Go up.
When he's holding up 2, it should be, I have to take a number 2. Yeah, Can we stop the game? I'm 73 years old. 2. I've got to do a number 2.
That's it. Peace. I'm out. I'm going to go shit in the line.
I had no dog in this race. I did not bet on the game.
Oh, I thought you had the Texans. You were, okay.
No, I stayed away last second because I just couldn't put money on Romeo Cornell to cover 2 straight weeks.
Yeah.
That was the dumbest non-cover I think I've ever seen in my life. First of all, this is another thing. I don't know if this is a gambling rule or what, but all the smart math that's come into football, but is now being used by coaches who are trying to seem like it makes them smarter to do it. And it's like, you're losing the feel of the game. Like if you actually watch the Houston Texan game, Houston was having a lot of trouble in those short yardage. Like they were always like fighting for any 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, whatever.
Right.
And just the flow of the game, it didn't feel right.
That's it. Like, you have to take that into account. You must take it into account. Otherwise,
it was so tough for them to move the ball.
I'm with you. I hate this Titans team. I don't know what's going on with it. I hate how good Tannehill is, and he is good. He's good. He's a top 10 quarterback now. He might be top 8 now.
If Rodgers had done what Tannehill did on that, I'm going to go up to spike it. No, I'm going to run back and throw it into the corner for A.J. Brown. That play was brilliant.
Yep.
And if Rodgers did that, the announcers would have just jerked each other off.
It never stopped.
They would have been like, that's it. Put your pants down.
Yeah.
We got to take turns on each other. That was unbelievable. Let's have a jerk party. They score a touchdown to go up 7. And there's how much time was left? 80 seconds?
Yeah, like a minute 20. Yeah.
And at that point, you're writing writing it in. Yeah. Except for Romeo Cornell's involved. You have to at least be a little careful.
Mm-hmm.
And the Texans get it to OT.
I want to go up 8 there. I agree with you. I want to go up 8 there. I didn't want to go up 8 with Minnesota. I don't know why. It's game to game. I think it's just a feel for it. And up 8, Tannehill, great. God bless him if he could drive the field with 1 timeout and then get the 2-point, and then you go to overtime. But there was no doubt the Titans were winning by a touchdown when they won the toss, right?
I thought it was going to be the A.J. Brown like 70-yarder or the Derrick Henry 75-yard run. It was much more painful.
Yeah.
Because when they went to Henry in the shotgun, that play usually doesn't work.
Yeah.
I actually don't like that play because then the defense could just be like, oh, cool, and put everybody up. But
I swear to God, they thought he was going to throw it, and they were terrified that he was going to throw it and forgot to tackle him. I don't know what happened there.
I got to say, Henry somehow was underrated heading into this year. And even in fantasy, like in our keeper league, he wasn't one of like the top 5 running backs.
I know it's a weird thing with him because the word gets out, oh, he doesn't heat up until like November or something, but he doesn't care about that shit. He's just throwing guys around all year, first 6 weeks.
I feel like he's bigger.
Yeah.
It's like Sly Stallone, Rocky 3 to Rocky 4. Where it's like something's different.
We're going to talk about that.
Something feels bigger about this dude. But yeah, he's in the MVP conversation now, I think.
I guess so. It's really hard for a running back these days. But
other than Wilson, I don't think any QB has separated from the pack.
I liked Rodgers before today. He had 13 touchdowns and no interceptions. And like the last 2 guys that did that through 4 games won the MVP. So, but
Rodgers was bad.
He was really bad.
Those 2 picks were awful.
I didn't get it. I honestly thought he was just like keeping them in the game, because of course it was the only freaking game other than the Dolphins Jets. We could talk about that forever.
Let's just talk about it now. That was like, mail us a shit next time.
Yeah. Why do they hate us so much, the NFL? Why do we have 9 games? And I know you had your eye on the Colts Bengals. God bless you for not betting it if you're telling the truth. But that was the one game DirecTV didn't show in the 8 box was the Colts Bengals. So I didn't pay attention. I didn't have money on it. You didn't have money on it. And it ended up being like the best game. And instead we have 2 games. And then as a result, we have 2 games in the late afternoon.
I had a tiny teaser with Washington and Cincy parlay money line. It was like 9-1. I was in it. Yeah, it was fun. I got my money's worth.
the Colts have to screw you anyway.
Well, the Bengals Mixon got hurt. That's why why they stopped scoring. Because once that happened, they didn't have an offensive line. They didn't have a good backup running back. But Rivers, I don't care.
Everyone hates him.
I feel vindicated by the don't put Phil Rivers in a tease rule, because if you had a tease in that one, you're going nuts. I was texting you in house. I thought that was going to be his final quarter, the second quarter.
Yeah.
I thought Brissett came in for the second half. It was over. We never see Phil Rivers again.
It's funny. I have you texting me, don't you dare put Phil Rivers in a teaser. I have my other buddies, Degenerate Trifecta, texting me, don't you dare put Phil Rivers in the Hall of Fame. This will be disgusting. Like, everyone hates on Phil Rivers, and then he ended up having good stats. He was like 29 for 40. He had like 370 yards or something.
I think these old QBs, if there's no pass rush, they can still look good. The problem is when they're pressured. That's what changes, I think, when you hit your late 30s, early 40s. Right. And I really want to see if Tampa can do this against a team that has a good pass rush. Mm-hmm. That's when I might believe. But yeah, the Romeo thing.
It just didn't seem right. I know. I don't care what the numbers say.
The math has gone too far, because it's like, the percentage said, it's like, well, we're all watching the game. The game has a certain flow to it. All of us are watching this going, Houston's probably not getting this.
Right.
It's going to end up being the same Deshaun play that they just scored the touchdown on, but now they're running it again. Like that was exactly the play that they tried to run, but that was weird. Which fan base is most worried about their QB? I'm going to give you the following choices.
Can I raise my hand?
Minnesota, Cleveland, New England, Philly. Out of those four, who's the most concerned?
This year?
Right now. Now, this moment, listening. Those fans are listening to this podcast right now, and they're going, me, I'm the most concerned. I would say Minnesota, because I feel like the Cousins thing is very close to ending.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing I'll say. Let's make an agreement to never, ever say that Cousins or Goff, let's just take those two, because they're the same guy. Cousins and Goff, they're back for good. And let's also not say they're done. Because no matter, it really just depends how your money is put on those guys, right? If you're going to bet Goff, he's probably going to buzz you right in the ass almost 80% of the time. Same with Cousins. But Cousins seems like he's not trying when he puts up these terrible numbers, right? Like, you want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, there's a weird vibe with him when things don't go well.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine what it would be like to be a teammate. But again, I'm going to say this every week. It's hard for me to believe Jameis can't play for one of these teams we're watching. It really is. There's 12 teams that I feel like at least it would be a little more fun if he was on the team. Like, when you watch Cleveland, I know Mayfield was probably hurt this week. Mm-hmm. Who knows how much, but like they had no chance in that game. He was completely useless.
Right.
And it's hard for me to believe that Jameis, can't at least be a backup.
But he's on a team though. It's not, you make it like he's not.
He's a third stringer. Like there's 12 guys starting.
He'll be all right. He'll play this year. He's going to play.
It's ridiculous. The Minnesota thing, it feels like that's coming to a head. I don't know what they do. Because if anything, Cousins, if you're throwing away the season, Cousins is just good enough that you're not going to get a good draft pick.
Right.
So you do the thing where you just like release him, or you keep your fingers crossed, hope it works out.
I mean, you say he's just good enough, but they're 1-5 now, right? They could lose 10 games, can't they?
I guess. And then the Philly thing, Wentz has this moment every game where you start thinking like, wow, I wouldn't be shocked if Jalen Hurts just came into the game right now.
Yeah. And there you see.
And then Wentz will rally, and then all of a sudden he looks good. He takes like incredible punishment.
Right.
Every game he gets the shit kicked out of him, and the team never dies. He's always like fighting back, but I'm never impressed as I'm watching it. Are you?
Right. No, it's like you dug this crazy hole that why should this even be? You're just screwing with our teasers right now. That's all you're doing. But they might be in trouble now. Sanders has a bad knee, right? That's what they say with him. And Zach Ertz has bad ankle problems. Like, those guys out, you're not going to see the 30-point games anymore.
Wentz is like the guy on the road trip who insisted on driving and gets lost.
Yeah, right.
And then it's like, Jesus, we're going to be 5 hours late. It's like, I got this. And then all of a sudden pull some crazy move. And then all of a sudden you're going to 85 on some side street. And it's like, you might pull this off.
It's your cousin Jimmy. That's who that is.
And then you crash. Washed watch. I'm just going to do this every week now.
Oh, yeah.
We got Brady is like a 2 out of 10 this week. He looked pretty good. He threw some nice touch passes.
It was
impressive.
It was good.
Yeah, I gotta say, his hair has never looked darker or better. Did you see him the sidelines? He's grown in the back a little bit now.
Yeah, right.
Really nice full head of hair.
Oh, he said hi. He said he hugged and kissed everybody after that game too. On
he
the
did.
Other team. He did the rounds. Did about 20 minutes on the field.
Yeah,
Good.
he probably intentionally gave himself COVID in like June to get it over with.
You think so?
So he'd be ready for the season. Yeah. He said, I'm just banging this out now.
He put that like in a celery shake or something.
Yeah. That was Rivers. I still have Rivers at like an 8 out of 10. He'll never go lower than 8 to me. Flacco, I have as a 15 out of 10. I don't know if you saw any of that Jets game.
Flacco, I was thinking about it. Like, I think he could I think he could score 4 out of 100 drives. I think I could score 0. And I think like you and I would score 0. Like Tebow's probably 2. Flacco's 4. Flacco, you never any confidence. It's not all his fault. It's Flacco. It's Gore. That team's a disaster. They're cutting away to the GM Douglas every 35 seconds. So the Gase before or after the election?
Well, at this point, Gase is their biggest asset. If you're really trying to go 0-16, right?
Right. Yeah. I guess so. Right.
They haven't covered yet this year, which is
0-6. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Any team can go 0-6, but when you go 0-6 against the spread, as people are adjusting the lines to account for your competence, and you're still crushing covers every week or non-covers, pretty impressive. As we know, like what's the worst anyone's done? Like 3-13?
I think so. Well, the Texans were 0-6 in 2000. There hasn't been a team to do this since 2013. I don't think so.
And it's funny because nobody wants to put Ryan Fitzpatrick in a tease, even though it was sitting there. I certainly did, and I looked at it.
Well, you should.
They're
the second best team in the AFC East. You should. Yours being third.
You love this. Both of our teams are fucked. Let's talk about. But we're going to guess the lines in a second. The Monday Night Football, we have 2 games, including your team. I love your team this week. I already have my bets in. The line seems to be moving, which makes me nervous.
Why are you doing that? You talked about Phil Rivers and quarterbacks that could do fine when there's no pressure. Andy Dalton is exactly what you're describing there. We have to see.
Great. Arizona has no pressure. They don't have Chandler Jones. They didn't have a good defense anyway.
We're beating them at the right time, I would say, but I do worry this offensive line is not good. We're moving guys around who've never played center, even in high school. So I guess he took first team snaps this week, so that's good. But
he also has like 3 awesome receivers.
Sure.
And he has Zeke Elliott.
Right. Well,
I don't know.
And that's just that side of the ball. Kyler Murray's going to run like all over the place. I don't know what his over-under rushing yards are, but lean over.
I think you're being too pessimistic. If Dak was playing this week and didn't have an ankle that was broken in half, you would be 4-point favorites.
Yeah, I sense that you think there's not a big difference between Dak and
I just don't think it's a 6-point difference. Do you? You think it's worth 6 points to go from Dak to Dalton?
What is it now? Wait, is that 6? I didn't even think
Initially it was. Initially Arizona was favored by 2. And then now there's been Dallas action.
Right. Okay.
I don't understand that.
I don't love it. I'm sorry. The other game's good. Chiefs.
Yeah.
Bills.
So with Buffalo, it's interesting because we got to see Tennessee, and I know they won, but they didn't look great. And Houston really was able to move the ball on them and make some big plays. And it made me kind of even more skeptical of Buffalo. And then you think like the Rams should have beaten them. The Rams look terrible tonight. And I know, like, we know this every year. That's one of the reasons we like the Niners, like the motivation thing. This was a kitchen sink. We have to win this Niners game. So not totally surprised to beat the Rams. But with the Bills, I don't feel like this is a kitchen sink game for them. It's just a big game. They're playing the Chiefs. For the Chiefs, they haven't played a great game yet.
The Ravens game was pretty good for.
Oh yeah,
nothing happened the second half, but they did their damage when they needed to in the first half, right?
You're right. I'm just thinking like the where everybody's been unlocked,
right?
Because like they haven't unlocked Clyde yet,
right? Yeah, he had like 10 touches last game or something.
I don't totally trust our offensive line yet. I don't know. I'm still not sold that they look like the same team of last year.
I'm with you. I think that's a safer bet, the Chiefs money line. But yeah, that's a good game because neither team wants to lose 2 in a row. But I think much like the Cowboys, the Bills are looking at that division and be like, we don't have to do a ton to win this thing, no offense, but so it's a bigger game for the Chiefs, I think.
The Diggs trade, which everybody loved and everybody was raving about Diggs the first month, but wasn't Jefferson the guy they picked with the Diggs picked?
Yeah. With that pick? Yeah. That was the end of the first round. Yeah. That's what they got, right?
LSU. It would kind of be more fun if they had Jefferson and he was like 22 with Josh Allen.
Yeah, right.